Welcome to Go Home Heat, a wrestling podcast. We are going to be going through pro wrestling the week that was, Impact, AEW, talk a little bit of New Japan, and we may dive into some general concepts
or just the wrestling world
of chief
at this moment.
Of chief branding.
Chief, yes. Branding is very important. We'll get there.
We'll see. We may not. Okay. Heath versus Moose is the beginning of Impact Wrestling. Heath, you may know him as a guy who has kids.
He's got kids. If I know one thing about Heath, does he have a last name?
Slater.
No, I don't think you can use that one anymore.
That's why he's Heath.
He's just Heath.
He probably does have a real last name.
I think it's Miller.
And somebody
I feel
else.
like I've heard that.
Right, okay. But somebody owns Slater, I'm sure of. Okay. We know what's a good move, though? Just calling yourself Heath.
Yes.
Because you can kind of act like they stole your last name.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like,
yes.
Cody acts like they stole his last name.
They super didn't.
That dude's name ain't Rhodes.
I'm pretty sure he changed his legal name to Rhodes so that he could just use it.
That's not how that works. Wait, that is exactly how that works.
That is exactly how it works. It turns out you can't trademark someone's legal Christian name. And that's just the business mind of Cody at work, you know?
But Cody...
he doesn't use it, but...
But Cody, well, now, almost 1 million people last week think you're wrong.
Okay, he doesn't use... Okay, well,
we'll get there.
Let me specify. He doesn't use the last name.
Yes.
He does just go by Cody, but he can use
But
Rhodes.
that's, again, smart because it gives him a little bit of the sympathy because the assumption is he's not allowed to use that name. You know what I mean? It's smart. It's branding.
It's branding.
Is what that is. Okay. Now, Heath does really well early in this thing. You can forget that he's a good wrestler sometimes just due to the trajectory of his whole career. He's been in a lot of silly stuff, but he can wrestle. He's really good. And the ref gets knocked down, then Heath gets the pinfall, but to no avail because the ref got knocked down. Moose low blows, tight grab, clean win.
Clean. Like a whistle.
Yes. Willie Mack was asked what the big announcement is from Which Swan, and he acted like he didn't know, but said that he would be there for him in any way, shape, or form as a great friend. Okay, moving on to an EC3 filmed promo. Since his ascent into TNA title, he's been judged by a name he inherited.
I think that's referring to his aunt.
Right. And also, I think he is implying that when he got to WWE, he may have been held back due to the way certain people feel about Dixie Carter.
Vince believes in kayfabe. And
yes.
He believes that Dixie Carter is his aunt. Yeah,
correct.
I believe that. No,
I don't
believe that.
There are many reasons I am sure that Vince totally missed.
I can't think of any legitimate
EC3,
ones.
but
in all honesty.
I don't know that would be one of them.
No.
But I also think I just don't get it. I'll never. There are a lot of people like you don't tell me Deanna Purrazzo.
Okay, she's not like the best, and in a incredibly stacked women's division. Impact's also incredibly stacked, but I feel like she's better than she was. Well, at least when I saw her in NXT.
Well, and I think a lot of times when somebody leaves a wrestling promotion, we can say, obviously they missed the boat if they're successful in the next one. Well, one, usually you come over, you get a little bit of a push right in the door because the company A wants you to get that push because if they can prove that you're good, then they can prove the WWE missed you.
Yes.
So it's to their advantage to make you bigger than you were over there. Also, situations matter. And a lot of times people get fired in every walk of life, evaluate themselves, and are better.
Yes.
And you combine those two things, and you maybe, like Stone Cold, like, did WCW miss on Stone Cold? Sure. If Ted DiBiase hadn't left WWE to go down south, WWE would have missed on Stone Cold too, because he would never got a mic in his hand. Ted would have kept doing the talking for him. I mean, it's situations matter.
Situations do matter.
Opportunities matter. But I did love this promo from EC3.
Oh, I thought it was great.
And he's always been great on the stick, if you'll give it to him.
I don't know. I find his character arc in this little bit to be compelling and interesting.
I'm so nervous about what he does in the ring because he's never really varied much from what he does. And he's okay in the ring. He's Robert Roode-ish in the ring. I like Robert Roode a little better in the ring, but he's in that mold a little bit.
Or he's perfectly fine.
But I would like, obviously he's going to need to be some form of an anti-hero. Maybe do a little thumb to the eye every now and again.
I feel like him and Moose are going to run kind of an older school match.
Can't wait.
Can't wait?
Can't wait. Because Moose is good.
Moose is good.
You know, he's going to get to start out. Like if after that Moose match, I don't think he's the bee's knees, then he ain't gonna be the bee's knees.
Yeah,
because he's gonna have the best opportunity to succeed he can. Okay, Motor City Machine Guns and Jimmy Jacobs. Sabin working at all due to his surgeries is a medical miracle. Geez, golly shucks, this is your typical "we're glad to be back" thing, and I like that part because I knew the North was coming, and they did. And that boy Ethan Page went crazy.
He was unhappy.
You beat us at 30%, 40%, 20%. I don't know how far down the percentages got, but he was not thinking that they were at full volume when they got beat.
No.
Alex offers a rematch now, but Ethan says no because they're not ready yet, but they will be ready at the pay-per-view.
Yeah, come pay-per-view. Emergence? I think they're calling it.
Emergency. That's a Cool in the Gang song, but never mind. And it has nothing to do with Emergence. But
no,
whatever.
I mean, it sounds similar.
Yes. Deanna Purrazzo and Kimberly team up, maybe.
Maybe. That's one of those relationships that's probably going to explode.
I don't see that going very far.
No.
Let's get to what's important. Wrestle House.
Taya
knows that all these people stink and tries to give them soap. Jake has a thing for Susie. Swinger's flirtations go awry, and it is now match time. Swinger winds up in a match versus
Alicia Edwards.
Alicia Edwards and Susie.
Susie, yes.
And I think Swinger thinks that maybe this means he's got a chance.
Yeah, I don't think he fully realized the extent
that he was in a match.
That he was in a match where they were going to beat him up.
He was wrong.
He was wrong, actually. He did get beat up.
This winds up being a match of the year candidate.
Oh, yeah, dude. The work rate.
It was
Johnny Swinger's work rate off the chain, you know?
Yes, but I did like watching him lose. That was fun.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's a short little segment. I liked it.
Kylie Ray is sad because she realizes that she doesn't get to leave unless Johnny Bravo picks Rosemary or
Taya. In the pantsuit this week, the sequin glitter pantsuit, it was a lot. It was really good.
If she told me she saw Donna Summer on the Dinah Shore show wearing that same outfit one day and had a flashback and I felt like I had to have that same suit, I would be like, and you don't know you probably don't know who Donna Summer or Dinah Shore is, but anyway, a disco outfit from head to toe. Looks like
Elton John threw up on it.
Elton John could wear that same outfit.
Yeah.
Elton could wear that outfit tomorrow.
Yes. Absolutely.
But definitely could have worn it with his hands on the keyboard playing Crocodile Rock with some Muppets around him.
Personally, I think it needs a little bit more feathers.
And some glasses.
Yeah. But it's close.
Yes. Absolutely. Okay. So Kylie Ray is going to have to figure out a way to take it upon herself to get us out of this house because she's the number one contender and she needs to get back to the show. Callahan is shown winning in a match. Sami Callahan is shown winning in a match to win his title of Impact Wrestling over Cage, which they utilize these throwback segments to show you why their roster is at least important in the same vein as the WWE or AEW roster. And I think they do a good job of that. They have been They have long been a company where people prove themselves and move on to the other organizations, and this is another case where we see Callahan go over Cage. And if you remember, this was a really good matchup, and not that long ago for a throwback.
I think it was their first match on Access, or their first night on Access that they had it. It was a cage match.
It was, yeah.
Well, okay, it was Brian Cage was in it, but it was in a cage. You know what I mean?
Correct.
Yes.
Yes. Cage did some crazy athletic things. Like he scaled that
machine.
thing in 2 leaps.
Yeah, 2 leaps. It was crazy.
Ground to over the ring rope, like Spider Cage.
Oh my God! Then he got like 3 pile drivers in a row. It was.
Yeah,
like,
in order to lose, they didn't show you the one. But
no,
yeah, he
they
took
showed.
3
I
of
mean,
them.
to be fair, it was from the the second rope,
Right.
which is intense. But
Right.
yeah.
Right. Okay. That was great. Okay. Good Brothers get arrested out front. Okay, this is a lot. The Good Brothers are walking to their car. Gallows and Anderson's truck door is open. I'm not sure who is good at picking locks in this parking lot, but what we have said about this parking lot.
It's dangerous out there.
Yes. Somebody has broken into their car, opened up 2 bottles of beer, put them in the floorboard of said car, and called the cops and alerted the cops that the people driving the car will be there soon. Cops have no idea that this could possibly be a setup. They approach. They ask the Good Brothers if they realize that this is open containers are not okay in this state. The Good Brothers seem somewhat befuddled by this, but they're willing to move on about it until Ace Austin walks up and Gallows' attempt to hit him winds up being an elbow to a cop's nose. Gallows is going to the gallows.
Straight to the electric chair.
Or he's going to spend the night in jail. Either way, that's where that's leading. Good Brothers not showing their brains yet. You know what? We'll just call Gallows Festus.
Festus, yes. Every time he does something dumb, he's Festus.
Do I ever tell you my Festus story?
Do you have a Festus story?
I do have a Festus story.
All right, let's hear it.
I've heard this. I've heard this one.
At the sports bar I work in, after a SmackDown show, I don't know if it was, I think it was just a live show. It wasn't like a SmackDown show. It was a house show. A couple of wrestlers came in to eat. I was not there. I had gone to the show and then went home. They come in to eat. One of the guys that's a cook grabs one of the T-shirts out of the restaurant and asks them if they'll, and a Sharpie, and asks them if they'll sign it for him. I tend to tell people not to bother famous people, but I wasn't there to say, no, don't get me an autograph. Anyway, so it's Gallows, I think Maria Kanellis, according to the way the lady who waited on them described them, and the rest of that group. But Gallows at this point in time is Festus. So they sign, and it's somewhere back there in my room. I don't know where it is. They sign it. He signs it Festus.
All right. Yeah.
And signs it festive like he doesn't know how to write.
Yes, perfect.
And it was good.
That's dedication and attention to detail.
In character.
Yes.
Totally in character.
You think he did it with his opposite hand?
I would do that. I think that would be a great plan.
Because that will help him think with the opposite side of his brain.
Yes. Yes.
Details.
I mean, he only has the one side, but
Details. Shout out to Brian, who was the cook who made sure that got done for me. Thank you very much. All right. Sammy Callahan versus Eddie Edwards is next. And
Sammy gets jumped
by RVD before we even start. And Katie Forbes is
strutting her stuff.
Protecting the fight, though. Right? Wasn't she keeping the people off of them to let him continue? So we think
the power of her twerking was just repelling them.
I bet it was.
It was repelling me from watching it.
Yes, and then we think Sammy may not be able to continue, but Sammy is a fighter, and he crawls down there and he gets in the ring, and we're going to have a fight, and they have a heck of a fight.
Sammy's just kind of a nasty gremlin.
Mm-hmm. And he's a grinder.
It's great.
Yeah, and this match was exactly what you would think an Eddie Edwards and Sammy Callahan match would be.
I thought it was pretty good.
It was
not
good.
Like great, but like not.
It was good. It was physical. It was. I enjoyed it, and Eddie wins with a Boston Knee Party. So that's good, and we're having the champ wrestling every week. This is good stuff. And then we move on to the Wrestle House. Again, the most important thing here. Bravo is told that he needs to take a hint by Kylie Ray, at which point he leaves.
He just bounces.
Rosemary, Taya are looking for him. They run across Crazy Steve, and there's a quick Marco Polo thing there with Crazy Steve, and then Kylie Ray is asked what may have happened to him, and she says, I may have said take a hint after, and he left, and that turns into
Rosemary screeching for a match.
which brings
Tommy Dreamer.
and the
Moose sucks eggs, yes.
shirt, right? And that turns into a match, and we have Taya, who is the referee, which makes complete sense since she's on Rosemary's side, against Kylie Ray.
These biased refs.
And Rosemary goes for several quick pins in which Taya tries to fast count, faster than you've ever seen count, the 1, 2, 3s, and doesn't quite get her. At one point, Kylie Ray does the I've stolen your nose spot, and
Rosemary accuses her of, witchcraft and all.
Rosemary wonders what kind of sorcery is this.
I thought it was a great little
That
spot.
was great. It was. Okay, and then Bravo shows up when I guess he did not make it to the street corner yet.
No, Abyss probably was waiting.
Deferred him.
Yeah.
Once he got to the yard. And so then Bravo is standing there, and Bravo being there at all distracts Rosemary enough to eat a super kick and lose on a very slow 1, 2, 3 count. Bravo gets into the ring to check on Rosemary, and she says, the smiling one may have told you some things. And Bravo says, look, I knew anyway. Taya's done a lot for me. And then they show you highlights of Taya treating Bravo like total crap. And then he says, I just don't know if she were to find out, what would happen. And Rosemary alludes to the fact that she's willing to keep their love or whatever they're trying to do a secret.
She's still trying to steal his soul.
I think she's trying to steal his soul.
Yeah.
And whatever else she can steal from him. She's evil. Her middle name is Misery. Her father is Satan.
Rosemary Misery. What's Satan's last name? Lucifer? I'd have to look up her Wikipedia page.
Luis Cypher.
Lucifer.
That's an Angel Heart reference. You ever seen that movie?
I have not.
It's I like it. It's campy, but it's older 80s.
Campy's
Mickey Rourke.
rules. Yes.
Little over the top creepy, but
yes.
It was a controversial when it came out. But one of the things in it is the guy who's the heel is Robert De Niro, and his name is Luis Cypher. And eventually you figure that out.
It's like, it's Lucifer.
Yes. Oh my God. Okay, and now we have Carl Anderson in the hallway trying to get his buddy out of jail. Ace Austin walks down the hall, does not get to think twice before he is met with a knuckle to the nose.
I like that. He just, as soon as Austin walks around the corner and says something snarky, he just immediately starts throwing hands.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right. And then Madman.
It's in the building, so it's totally legal.
Right.
Totally legal.
Right. Madman Fulton approaches, though, and the momentum swings the other direction, and Anderson winds up getting beat up. But I totally agree with when in doubt, throw hands, especially if you're a wrestler.
Dude, absolutely. The consequences are going to be minimal.
At best, right. Usually you get a title shot.
Yeah.
If you jump somebody for no reason.
That's what assault does, baby.
Yes, okay. That's the message. True message of pro wrestling. Hernandez, speaking of messages in pro wrestling, Hernandez bribes Reno Scum to get his money back from Rhino, which he's going to give money to people to go get his money back. But the key part of this segment is the combing of the Fu Manchu.
Dude, my man's rocking the Hulk Hogan handlebar.
It's way better than Hulk's.
Way better than Hulk's.
Yes.
And he keeps grooming it the whole segment with a little comb.
I love it.
It's really great. There's no reason for that. There's no explanation given. Just for the last handful of weeks, he's just been rocking it.
You know what'll make me look tough? If I comb my mustache.
Constantly.
Yes.
Like it's a nervous tick.
And you know what does make him look tough?
I mean,
him combing his mustache.
You know what? He was right.
Saying it out loud and looking at it are two different points of view of the same thing, right?
Yes.
Oh, man. Okay, Chris Bay and Raji versus Falaba and TJP, and we get a very good match. And this is the precursor to TJP wrestling Chris Bay for that X Division Championship. Chris Bay in an armbar, in an arm breaker off a base springboard. That was a note I wrote down there.
That was good, great finish.
Dude.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah,
They're going to have a banger.
They are. They could, if it's a pay-per-view and they're given 25 minutes or whatever,
yes,
they could have a match of the year candidate.
100%.
You know? And both of them are capable of doing 2 or 3 things and you going, man, I don't know if I've ever seen that before.
Dude, TJP breaks that out every match. I'm like, whoa, I've never seen that.
Right. yeah.
And he does it like he's just, it's part of his normal thing. And I'm like, I've watched a good amount of TJP matches now. Never seen him do that.
Right. He's got, how do I put it? He's got the John Morrison.
Oh, just, it's unreal.
I look at gravity differently than the rest of you do thing to him. Okay, Rich Swann is announcing his retirement.
This segment
And it was heart-wrenching. He was bawling the whole time. As well he should be. He fought hard. He got cut by WWE. He made his way back to the mountaintop. He was actually in the title picture. His career is over.
I think that was kind of Rick's fault that he got cut from WWE. Kind of.
Let's
I don't remember
move
the
along.
circumstances for that, honestly.
Moving right along.
Yeah, this segment was.
Did you even watch this?
Yes, I watched this. I did watch this. I really remember this segment because the entire time we were just kind of awkwardly sitting in the living room, and
that's how you do when
didn't
people
really
are crying.
Same.
Man tears of love of their profession and of one another. Never getting to share a locker room with each other.
He's totally
again.
retiring.
You don't know that he's not.
It's like when they killed Spider-Man in Infinity War. He's totally staying dead.
That happened? I don't watch those movies.
You're not a nerd?
No, I watch wrestling. Are you kidding me? I'm not a nerd.
Have you ever seen this GIF though? Mr. Stark, I don't feel so good.
Oh, I do. I actually did watch that movie. I didn't like it, but I watched it.
Right, but that's a good part.
That is a good part.
That's a good part. Tony.
Yeah, they kept trying to make Tony an interesting character, and man, it just it didn't work.
For you?
No, definitely not.
But
I'm no selling Marvel movies. I'm shooting hard on Tony Stark.
Okay, but the rest of us were Tony Stark with Spider-Man.
This is just
going into the atmosphere in our arms as we watch Rich Swann retire.
This entire thing was just kind of absolutely heart-wrenching.
Yes.
It was rough.
And then EY jumped him.
He jumps him and bashes him with his own cane.
As he's going to wave goodbye to us for the last time.
Hobbling away.
Yes, and
My man gets jumped.
EY gets that real heat, son. I loved it. We like this episode.
I like this episode.
Awesome. Now, on to the main event of the American Wrestling Week. AEW Dynamite. The Elite and FTR.
I apologize if I do not remember everything that happened vividly.
I thought it was a pretty good episode, no, honestly.
Elite, FTR.
Well, no, I'm not saying that and I was like to rag on it. It's just I haven't rewatched it at all.
That's fair.
I only watched it
I ended up rewatching several segments from it. The first and last match. I ended up rewatching both of those.
Attention to Detail by New Japan Jared.
Well, because okay, we'll get there.
Dark Order were the opponents in this. A lot of moving parts.
A 12-man tag match, and it was way more cohesive than the match last week, which only had 8 people, 10 people? No, I think it was 10. This match was way more cohesive and structured.
Yeah, you liked it?
I liked it.
Okay, Brody gets the win.
Okay, I brought this up in the group chat, and everyone no-sold me on it. But the Elite set up Hangman for the win on Brody Lee. Mm-hmm. They set him up for the shotgun lariat, buckshot lariat.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, buckshot lariat. And I did point out that it is very similar to the way that Dark Order sets up Colt to win. Because they want Colt to stay, and they want to use him for his strength.
Right.
I just thought it was an interesting parallel.
But the group chat did not no-sell your comment quite as much as Brody no-sold 7 kicks to the head.
He's supposed to be a monster, okay?
Everyone else does
and
that.
then turned right around and lariated the Hangman.
A lariat does not require that much. You know what I mean? It's not like he did a flip.
Hangman did.
Oh, yeah, because he got hit.
With a lariat from a guy that was dead-ish. Not
Oh,
anymore.
my God. He's big.
Yes, he is.
He's big, and he's supposed to be a monster.
Exactly.
You complain when people don't get booked like monsters, and you complain when they do.
I get it. I agree. I agree. But the point is, the story that was told through this match is the breaking up of the Elite.
And how, good Lord, yeah, I mean, there was a story told.
Along with an underlining of Brody Lee being the most formidable single entity in the match.
Dude, I liked how Dark Order came off this episode. You know what I mean? They came off as like legitimate and threatening.
They did. Absolutely. The whole one of the underlying currents of the entire episode was that the Dark Order is a formidable force in this company.
And they're starting to pick up some steam.
Right. The Best Friends versus Santana and Ortiz. The Best Friends win in a Trent roll-up. What did you think?
I thought it was good.
It was a good match. It was fun. But I guess the important part of all this is that Santana and Ortiz destroyed Sue's car afterwards.
Heel move of the century.
And then Trent
Sue just finished paying that off.
said they owe the mom an apology. And that they're going to...
Not a new car, not payment, an apology over speakerphone specifically.
Right.
Which I thought was a funny detail. Again, I like the Best Friends promos because they just say stuff like that, and it's...
You know what scares me about this?
What?
Okay. What scares me about this is the first time, I want to say the first time I've ever watched Santana and Ortiz in AEW and thought, that's LAX, was when they were tearing up that car.
Yes.
And I see, after what Trent said, I see Ortiz doing a comedy skit where he apologizes to somebody's mom. And I think it will be good.
Yes.
It will not be LAX.
No. I agree with that.
Right. Okay. MJF headquarters, he chews everybody out. I thought that was good. Sammy, okay, the Matt Hardy thing happens here. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, Matt Hardy comes out. He says something. He's happy to be here, happy to be at AEW, blah, blah, blah. It's the usual, you know what I mean? And then he gets laid out by Sammy. He says something that like, oh, Sammy hid under the ring to beat me up. And then Sammy comes out from under the ring and beats him up. But Matt like knew about it. He did the whole, I knew you'd come right at the end before he starts swinging. Which I thought was a nice detail. But my man gets beat up. They beat each other up. He gets put on a table. I think he might have busted his head open on the ring post when he gets thrown into it. It definitely gets busted open when Sammy just nails him with the chair, though. I think he threw that way too hard, and it straight up clipped Matt. Matt was like bleeding.
He did
not look happy. He looked upset.
I didn't have a problem with the segment, but I definitely had a problem with the execution.
Woof.
Sammy throwing that chair like a dart.
No.
Like a lot of times, you see in old ECW days all the time where they throw the chair at his head, but it's going straight.
Flat.
It's flat, right? And then they're hitting the part you sit on, and that part goes down. Sometimes they'll even land like on their neck,
yeah.
Right? He took the end of it, threw it like a dart, split the guy's head. I mean, dude, did you?
It was
the still shots of Matt Hardy afterwards. He's got an egg on his head. He had an egg on his head.
It was
that came off a couple of inches.
Ugh.
And then a cut that went, I mean, even if he bladed a little bit there, I don't think he did.
I don't think he did.
I think it was legit. He got hit in the freaking head and it split his head wide open. Dude, Sammy you can't do that, man. The way that, come on, man, that's crazy, dude. And I'll tell you this, in Sammy's defense, though, he does not care about his body a bit. That flip he did on the mat,
Woof.
He didn't know which way he was going to land, and I'll tell you, Matt probably didn't like that either because he didn't get hit with Sammy's belly. He didn't get hit with Sammy's back. He got hit with spinning knees and feet. You know what I mean? I'm sure Matt walked out of there going, "Look, man, I've taken falls off the top of ladders that were worse than what just happened to me out there." You know what I mean? You go back and watch. They got me, the Dudleys, my brother, and Christian and Edge in the greatest match of all time. Some people say. Watch all the bumps I took. I didn't come out of there looking like this. Feeling like, you know what I mean? I mean, he had to be furious when he walked out.
Dude, I mean, he looked unhappy out there when he was like, he got up quickly from the move and he was like looking at his head because he was like soaked in blood.
Right. And dude, I just, sometimes it's like, wow, what was he thinking? You know? But like I said, in the kid's defense, I've seen him jump into a moving vehicle, and I told you when that happened.
Yeah.
He's gonna kill himself out there one day. You know what I mean? And but it's one thing if you're gonna kill yourself. You know, that's yourself. You know. Okay. Cody and Matt Cardona versus Silver and Reynolds. This was a lot. What did you think about this?
Matt Cardona, not impressed.
You weren't impressed with him?
No.
Okay.
I was never like super impressed, but his style fit way more in with WWE, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like a match with him versus The Miz would make sense, you know?
Well, and this is one of his first matches in a different style company.
I assume that he'll switch it up a little bit because it does take a while to like adjust because it is different.
Okay, so
But I thought, however, Silver and Reynolds, the Beaver Boys, great. I thought they were great this match. They're good when they're allowed to like go. They're good. They're real good.
right now
They had the timing segment near the end of the match was really good. You know, the one where they just like did moves. It was great.
what about Cody?
The part
in
where
this
they
match?
did moves, that was really vague. But like the part where they, synced up and
Right.
you know.
What about Cody's role in this?
Cody was there.
Cody is the Ultimate Warrior.
Yeah. Would you like to elaborate on that?
Dude, every week he gets hurt, he's beat up, he can't hardly move, his ribs are cracked, and yet he soldiers on to the point in which at some point you can't even tell he's been hurt for 10 minutes. And then he'll do a couple of things in a row and then he'll reach down and grab his rib. It's like, come on, man. I mean, this was fun. I mean, it was, I enjoyed it. It's just, I don't know that I like Cody every week selling a different injury and then, and
selling it for like
let me put it this
15 minutes in the match.
I don't have a problem with him selling the injury.
No.
People sell injuries Shawn Michaels sold a back injury every match he had after he hurt his back.
Oh, yeah.
My issue would not be that. My issue would be I'm selling a rib injury for 3 minutes and then I get kicked in the ribs. And I turn to the guy and scream, "Kick me more!" And I don't defend myself at all as he kicks me 3 more times.
That is Ultimate Warrior territory.
And then because what he did. And here's the thing, though. You could take this match, and I'm going into detail on nothing, but you could take this match and go, I'm going to take that 3 seconds out. Just that 3 seconds out.
Perfect.
And it's pretty good.
It's way better.
Right?
You soldiering through the pain just naturally is way better than...
Wow.
That being said, not that there's like not specific points for that, because I do like that sometimes in New Japan, but that's more due to the way that their matches are set up and what their matches are themed around, where it's like fighting spirit and all that. That makes more sense over there.
Right.
It doesn't
but still
quite make as much sense with Cody.
But if you came to but I don't even think in New Japan, if you come to the ring with your ribs wrapped, you do that. Or in this case, that's the equivalent of your ribs being wrapped, right?
DDP style, yeah.
You've sold that you're injured to the point where maybe somebody should have to.
Yeah.
It's one thing if you get hit in the chest and you go, "Oh, that really hurts. Hit me again."
Let's go. I want to see what you've got. There, yeah.
That's a little different than I'm injured. I don't know if I can continue. You know what? Never mind. Let's try 3 more. Okay, so
you're right.
But again, I did like it. Okay, and I was really excited about post match. Scorpio Sky meets him in Hall.
That could be a banger.
And Cody went online later and said, "Hey, this right here is going to be the toughest match I've had."
All right.
And I believe so too. And I think he knows. that it's possible this is the kind of match that can get him similar talk that he had with his brother.
Yeah.
Where you go, this was a big time match this is the best match we've had all year, that kind of thing. You know what I mean? Because he has to know Scorpio can do it. And I'm sure he believes he can. So.
Oh, yeah.
So, Okay, Cassidy, Jericho, Bischoff, what did you think?
Man, this was a segment that I was not super looking forward to because I wasn't sure how well it was going to turn out, but I thought it turned out quite well. I like Eazy-E, as he's known in some circles, evidently.
Yes.
Eric Bischoff, he didn't do any karate, which disappointed me. I thought that was like his major defining feature, other than the fact that he looks smug all the time.
Okay, so he's looking smug as a judge is a good look.
Oh, yeah, he was perfect in this segment.
Yeah, Jericho does the same old shoots on every question where he talks poorly about Orange's appearance and the minions that he has around. I don't think he called them minions, but you know what I mean.
No.
Cassidy gets asked a question about many things, and he never replies to them when it has to do with the wrestling portion. He's asked a question about those sea levels. He answers it in detail. Jericho, Bischoff gets awards. Bischoff awards Cassidy the victory. Then Cassidy goes into, after that, Cassidy goes into why this match is hugely important and maybe the most important match of Jericho's career, in that I'm a joke. You consider me a joke. I'm the guy who puts his hands in his pants. If you lose to me, what does that say about you? What does that do to your legacy? I thought this portion of what Orange said was very well done.
Yes.
I get a little annoyed when I saw everybody go crazy over him answering the question about sea levels. Because I'm going to tell you one thing I've noticed about guys that are considered slackers. They watch a lot of National Geographic.
Yes. It's true.
Right?
It's true.
So if you want to go into a guy's wheelhouse that sits around the house and watches TV all the time.
Ask him about elephant conservation.
Correct.
Yes.
The random facts are what they know. And sea levels isn't a random thing. I mean, that's
important.
Big freaking deal,
Yeah.
right? Okay, the only thing I would say to, like, if I have a criticism of this spot is I thought that Jericho appointed, because didn't Jericho said, I got a guy that's going to be the moderator? A huge surprise for you guys?
Yeah.
Why would he ever pick Bischoff? Because at the end, they said they hate each other.
Oh, what was funny, and someone pointed this out, that Jericho said it was, I've hated you for 22 years, which would be about the time that he left WCW. Bischoff says 24, which is when he came to WCW. So Bischoff was saying, I hated you from the beginning.
Right. But that's my point, though. That's my point. Why would, like, I get why Bischoff would take the job.
Oh, absolutely.
Because he hates the dude. He's going to go over there and he's going to lose. Why would Jericho scour the globe and bring Eric Bischoff in? It made no sense. Like, if I was doing it, I would have had somebody else appoint
my dad.
Bischoff.
His dad, you know?
Yeah. No. I would have had Bischoff there for sure. It just would have been somebody else appointing him. That's all.
Tony Khan brings in Eric Bischoff.
Correct. Yeah. And but that's the thing though too. In this company, you don't have like an authority style figure on screen.
Yeah. Khan's in the background.
But it saves, they mention him.
Yeah. They mention him and it's like, oh, Khan decided that this is going to happen. And it's like that.
Correct.
I think that's, in all honesty, better.
Well, it saves camera time, which they don't have enough of that as it is.
Nope.
And we'll get there in a minute too, probably. But I was rubbing my head when Bischoff came out, and then when he said I hated you all the time, I was like, well, yeah, of course he hates that dude. And Jericho, up until Jericho left WWE, the person that drew his ire the most was any conversation about WCW, and it was Eric Bischoff, because you wouldn't blame Hogan or Nash or Hall.
Blame the guy in charge
For utilizing contracts they signed. That ain't their fault.
No.
You told me I had creative control. So for you to come back and say I utilized my creative control is an error on your judgment. And 1 hour, 38 minutes into Dynamite, we have a female sighting.
Yes.
And what incredible competitor is this?
Britt Baker is going to appoint someone. Who could it be? It would be Reba, her sidekick,
Rebel,
who would get in the ring and interact with Swole, who has drawn Britt's ire, and they have been going back and forth for at least a month. And this, you will go through Reba to get to me in this last, we'll just say, an hour and 42 minutes into this episode. The women are done.
Yes. I do like that they included Rebel because she is actually a wrestler.
Not on this show.
Not on this show, no. Which,
my guess is that next week Britt will appoint somebody else, and that person will be more formidable.
I'd like to see Swole wrestle more. I like Swole.
I would like to see Swole wrestle more as well.
She has a great roaring elbow. She calls it, I think, Dirty Dancing. It's a good name.
It is great. Now we'll probably get into this little thing about that later. That's why I pointed that out.
Through the rest of the episode.
Yes, because the rest of it's great. Mox versus Darby is next. And what did you think about this?
I loved this match. I really did enjoy this match. I thought they told a great story with Mox in an earlier promo going, hey, when I was your age, I would do things that were dangerous, and people would tell me not to do them, and sometimes I wish I had listened because I paid the price.
Mox told the story of the match in a promo prior to the match, which he's done now multiple times.
And he tells it in the match, too.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
It all strings together.
He gave you the cliff notes beforehand, and then you got the book.
And it all strings together, and it's all cohesive.
I'm happy that you pointed out that you were saying it in a nice way, because that sounds like, oh, he had to point out the storyline before he.
No, the opposite. This was wonderful.
It was, again, cohesive.
I know, but like
storytelling.
But
the
like,
reason why
when you said that, that's what it sounded like.
But the reason why you would get the cliff notes prior to reading a book, if you're taking a class, is so you'll know what to look for as you go through the book.
Absolutely.
And he gave you what to look for. And like you said, Darby time and again put himself in harm's way in order to try to get the victory. At the end, you have the choke, the pile driver, the paradigm shift.
Oh man, I'll talk about the choke and pile driver for a little bit because I think it's just so cool that he's done it multiple times now. But ever since his match with Suzuki, he's been doing Suzuki's choke into Gotch style pile driver,
right?
Which is so cool,
right? Which is an ode. What he's talking about is an ode to a New Japan wrestler, and
yes,
that
they had a match for the U.S. title.
And he's carried on some of that into this particular
so
back-to-back
cool.
moves.
So cool.
Right. And then he kind of scrubs his head because he doesn't necessarily... Not that he doesn't want to put Darby away, but...
He doesn't want to, injure him permanently.
Right, and he knows that...
He's going to have to, kill Darby Allin.
Right, and so he puts him away with a paradigm shift.
MJF does interfere for a little bit, and I thought
which was perfect.
I thought it was a really interesting story beat that, Darby... There's no way Darby didn't know that happened. But he still went for, the coffin drop in the pin. He still went for it.
Right.
I think, there's a lot of stories you tell like that where it ends up being, oh, no, I can't win like that. Mm-hmm. And he hesitates and waffles around. But no, my man, immediately went for the coffin drop. He was like, oh, this is my chance. He didn't think in his head... oh, this wouldn't be fair. He's like, okay, this is my chance.
Exactly.
I'll take it. And I think that's interesting. It shows them that they're not friends, and they're not either of them good guys, but they have a really interesting dynamic between them. Well,
and Darby, why would Darby be the kind of guy that wouldn't take
absolutely. No, I completely agree.
This is wrestling. Random things happen, People fall.
He's willing to do anything to get it. And if someone's going to cheat for him, all right.
Right. Absolutely. And I thought it was perfect that MJF wanted to face the smaller man for the belt.
It's smart. It fits in the story.
Right. And again, MJF alluded to it in his. He told you that might happen.
Oh, yeah. He's like, if I have to wrestle a 125-pound emo kid.
Wouldn't that be a shame? Right? Yeah, I thought it was... afterwards, Dave LaGreca put out on Twitter that he thought Moxley
Are we now going
busted
into
open.
the wrestling world?
Not yet.
Okay.
Busted open that Jon Moxley is the perfect champion for AEW. And I doubled down on that, and I still do. I feel like he is absolutely the perfect champion for a company that wants to sell that they're good wrestlers and sell that their roster is formidable. Because Moxley never acts like the guy he's fighting is not formidable.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
He always, by telling the story of why he's going to hurt you, it always is qualified by how your strengths can be your weaknesses, how I'm going to have to do this, this, and this to struggle, and you're going to have to hurt me to beat me. And because he's the champion, he's never in the ring with, like, it's not like sometimes with Cody, they put a guy that's never been on TV before, and that guy gives Cody 15 minutes, and that makes me irritated, right? But this isn't like that because he's only wrestling top guys.
Yeah.
So, of course, they're going to be formidable. And with him being a little bit smaller of a guy than, say, an Archer, he can absolutely come off as the Stone Cold style. This is what we thought he would be when he was in WWE. This is what they hoped he would someday be, right? The Stone Cold figure, the smallerish champion. Stone Cold's
Tough
not a
as
small
nails.
man, but he's smaller than an Undertaker or
not Nash.
Right.
He's not Nash, yeah.
a guy that will take the beatings, keep moving forward, and this is what they have. And he's the perfect guy to build a company around, because when you get to the main event point, you lose to the champion, but you come out of it more formidable than you did going in.
Yes.
So we can build a star, and he loses, and he doesn't go away. A loss to the champion is not a burial. It is an anointment of being more important than you were before.
That's how it should be.
Yeah, I agree. Dude, he's perfect. He's absolutely perfect. Now, on to the rest of what happened that has nothing to do with this segment. Okay, people have been alluding to online that women's wrestling is not getting the amount of attention that maybe it should get on this show.
And
that
we've
being
alluded
said,
it in the past, mostly is in a joking manner. But
that being said, let's go ahead and say this up front. They do have a all-women's tag team tournament on Monday nights. They started last week. They do have a show called Dark that has stretched out sometimes to an hour and 40 minutes.
Oh, there's like 9 matches this
in which you will have 2, 3, 4 women's matches. So it's not as if these people aren't getting to work. But it is similar into the, if you've been around wrestling long enough to know WWE, for example, if a person's on main event, then they're basically not on the roster anymore in the internet size. Right? If you're on 205, you know what I mean? And
which I don't think is entirely fair.
It isn't entirely fair, but but if you're going to compare one that way, I understand where the same audience would do the same thing.
Yes, I get why people would do it, but I do think the situation's different enough.
I don't think it's different at all.
You don't think it's different at all? You don't think Dark is any different than like 205 Live?
No.
Well, shoot.
I don't. But it's okay if you do. I don't have a problem with that.
I mean,
you know what
Dark
I mean?
is
I don't have
literally
to be
televised house shows.
I totally don't have to be. I don't have to be right.
Well, for me,
you know what I mean?
Dark is where people can get better and be better. That's their, I don't want to say developmental, but that's them working out the kinks with people in my eyes. You know what I mean?
So, but then almost to me that would mean that you think main event's better than Dark.
No. Well, I don't know. I never watched main event.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Fair
enough.
Events, I don't even know what it is.
Fair enough. Okay, but or 205 or whatever. Okay,
I watched 205. 205's good.
205 is a lot of times the best wrestling product.
Oh yeah.
They have.
There were a bunch of weeks, even with like NXT being good. It was like, oh no, God, who was it? Like Mustafa Ali and Cedric Alexander would have just like match of the year candidate.
Every
on
week.
a random week, yeah.
Right, right. When Cedric and Ali were on that show, it was really good. But let's move on to what we're talking about. Okay, so here's the thing. Cody kind of said earlier on that you wouldn't have to, and this is where I'm going to defend the internet a little bit, that you wouldn't have to watch the internet, the YouTube shows, in order to understand what my product is all about.
Right.
That was a statement that led me to believe, oddly enough, that I wouldn't have to watch the YouTube shows to understand what his product is all about.
That's an interesting interpretation.
Okay.
I think it's the correct one.
Okay. But then you had, and so then earlier that afternoon, going into Wednesday, you had Cody kind of go back and forth with somebody. And I went through and read a couple of the tweets, and they did not come off as bad as I thought they did originally when I reread them today. But basically he said, hey, we're getting there. Give it time, we're getting there. Okay. And then you have a show 4 hours after he says that only has 4 minutes of women. Here's the other thing too. It'd be one thing if you told some story, like if you had done 3 promos about your tournament, or if you had your champion on to talk, or if you had Nyla Rose on with Vicky and they're recruiting somebody. They were only on 4 minutes.
Yeah, that was it.
They didn't really even mention the tournament. They had it down in the bottom corner, a couple of pictures.
That's the thing that kills me. And it's like, this is a multifaceted issue. And I think, I don't know, there just needs to be more on the main show. I think, at the end of the day, if just even with the other things I might say, at the end of the day, they really just do need, at the very least, to have Shida on routinely and not just in the crowd. Because she's in the crowd every week, and they show her, and she's got the belt, and it's like, oh, hey, our women's champion. Sure hope she does something this week. Get it? She does. She does.
I love it. I love that little play right there. Okay, so then, of course, once the show is over, now we're going to get to that in a second, what I think you're talking about in a second. Then we get to Brandy going online, and she has unveiled this thing where, and people went crazy because she's all asking $50 to be in an online fan club where women only are allowed to go to a safe place, talk wrestling, virtually be involved with about 20 pro wrestlers, including Brandy, and get branding advice and social media advice and things like that, along with whatever kind of communication you're doing talking wrestling. That turns into people going, I can't believe you're charging people $50 to be in your online community. Like you said, it's only $5 a month. And I did read this, and it was weird because sometimes you don't realize people don't think about every little angle. A girl says to Cody yesterday, why can't we make like monthly payments? And Cody said, great idea. Like, holy cow, why didn't we think of that?
No one thought of that?
Yeah. But by the same token, you got to remember, you're sitting around and they look and they go, hey, if you're a part of, say you're a part of the U2 fan club, you got to pay $30 a year. If you're a part of it, you know what I mean? So they look at that and then they go, well, U2 doesn't even do anything. All you have is access to tickets, right? And so then you go, and we're actually going to interact with people.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So I don't know how that works. That was U2, the band I was alluding to right there, not U2 as in you sitting at home in your fan club. Okay, but point being, Brandy in turn took offense to that statement, and she winds up bantering back and forth with people online.
Which is a mistake.
It is for some people. And she eventually says something to the effect of, some women don't like women's wrestling. And within an hour, she deletes her Twitter account. And I don't know what she was trying to say there, and I wish she hadn't have deleted, because I wish she would have gone into detail as to what on earth she was thinking when she said that. Because I know good and well she didn't mean that to come off like it came off.
No.
It's not possible.
No.
That you could text that out and think...
I mean, that is a factual statement, but like the implications of that statement are just odd.
Right.
Odd. Yeah, I mean...
But my point is too, though, and with Brandy, there's so much to unravel, because as she did come up with this tournament, and yet as I'm watching the tournament, it feels like the tournament's built to promote her and her friend, her and her maybe could be friend, tag team partner, breaking up. So they're the main storyline of this tournament. if it ends today. You know what I mean? Because that's all we've told. There may be other stories to tell, but that's the story we've gotten so far.
Yeah.
And then she backs that up with, I'm the chief, she says on TV all the time, I'm the chief branding officer. I'll give you tips on how to be whatever. And so she meshes this heelish character with this, by all accounts, wonderful woman.
She seems nice.
You know what I mean? And, they come up with all, but, so I don't want, first of all, I just don't want people to think, I'm not a huge fan of her being in the ring. I do like her in other aspects of it all. I think she's great at being the heelish person. This is just all happening at one time. So I don't want to poo-poo her too much on this, but the point of this is, if we're going to have more women's wrestling on this show, and then Meltzer winds up getting into it with somebody online about the qualifications for just being on the show because of the accumulation of talent they have. And this is what I alluded to before, maybe a couple of episodes ago, where like AEW needs to quit signing new people. They got people.
They got a lot of people.
Problem is, everybody they sign is a big name, which puts them in a show. That show, if they're going to be on it, if it's going to justify you bringing them in here, if it's going to justify them leaving millions at the table, they need 20 minutes on your show. Your show's 2 hours. You bring in, like these people that got cut, you don't have to give them TV time. They got cut. But the big names they bring in, you got to mix them right into the mix, right? Brody Lee's got to have a big part of the show. Now, if you want more people to be on the show, he said that Ray Phoenix was the line in the sand. If you're worse than Ray Phoenix, you can't be on the show. Which was kind of funny to me.
That's like...
That's a high bar.
I mean,
Ray Phoenix is an amazing pro wrestler.
I mean, if that was true, there would be like 4 wrestlers on the show.
Right. But
like maybe 4 wrestlers.
Right.
On
But
the
now,
show.
if you want to go through this show, because I made a point that there was no women's wrestling on the show. Go through the show. Tell me what you replace. Darby Allin and Jon Moxley was the best match Jon Moxley's had.
I honestly completely agree. I think that was Mox's best match.
It needed all those minutes.
Absolutely.
It needed his TV segment where he explains why. Okay, so that may be 20 minutes.
Okay.
You only got 2 hours.
And maybe you could remove...
You loved the first match.
I loved the first match. It was great. It was great storytelling. I mean, like, again, this episode was really good storytelling-wise. And I think...
You loved the second match.
Yes. Yes, I did.
You loved the segment where they
beat up the
spray
car.
paint the car and all that.
Rules.
Okay, so you see where I'm getting at? Where are you going to take the time? Cody has to wrestle every week. It's literally what he has said about this.
That would be the one match that I took out, but at the same time, that did feed into the larger Dark Order story and also Matt Cardona being on TV.
Yes, but the other thing is, now you could say, okay, Cody doesn't need to be on TV every week. You could also say that about the Bucks. You could say that about Omega. But like I said earlier about Omega, you've got the best wrestler in the world, maybe, and he's wrestling tag matches. He's only getting 7 minutes of ring time a week. Who's sacrificing more in this company, considering he's went out and signed all the women, and he's watching them not be on TV, and he's only wrestling 7 minutes a week, and his favorite thing in the world to do is wrestle.
Yes. Ugh.
That poor guy. He has to be scrubbing his head with his mouth shut. Not wondering, because I think he loves it. And I think he knows. I don't think he looks at Dark like I look at Dark.
No.
And I don't think that. And I almost think that I'd be totally okay if one of these guys would just come out and say, "Look, just watch Dark. I was wrong. We don't have time for everybody. I got to put them on Dark."
I think the biggest issue with all of this is the absolutely confusing mess of things that the people in charge have said.
Correct. There is.
Everyone got mad at Kenny for the booking of the women's division.
And he said you're barking up the wrong tree.
Because he said he was in charge.
He did say he was in charge.
And then
Brandy alluded to her being in charge, and she said it's not me either, right? But
and then
they
Cody
both
said it was a joint effort, and it's like, okay, that's probably true.
Imagine if one of them blamed Tony Khan, how that would go down,
Not
right?
good.
Because you can't blame Tony, because Tony, of all the people in the world right now in pro wrestling that are babyface, Tony's the babiest of faces. You cannot afford to have, as a company, you cannot afford to have him looked at poorly.
No,
right?
Because he's supposed to be this.
He's the beacon of
he's the
hope
guy.
we all have.
Yeah.
That's not Vince McMahon, right? He's the real story being told, right? And so it's so hard, because when you cut through a show, there's nowhere to cut the fat.
Again, and Dark this week looks like it's going to be fire.
Here's the thing: Jericho Orange. Do we need Chris Jericho every week talking. Could Jericho, think about that. If Jericho and Orange are in the ring already, we announce Bischoff as a surprise. He walks out. You save 4 or 5 minutes. That could have been Swole's match. She could have had an 8-minute match. Then you're not mad. Right? But Jericho is the most watched thing demo-wise on the show. He reminds us every week. If we pull him off the show,
numbers go down.
That's not going to happen. He's the most watched thing.
I mean,
you see the conundrum?
Again, it's such a complicated issue.
Well, they just need another 2 hours.
They do. Honestly, I'm feeling it more and more where it's just like, man, they just kind of need more.
Right.
And again, you get that
even
on
an
YouTube.
hour.
Yes, you get that through Dark. You get that through this new women's tournament, and it's like, I mean, I watched it and I enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
I will be watching Dark now that it's not like squash matches, but with like indie talent.
Yeah.
It's back to being like extra matches, like SCU versus whoever.
Right. That was the problem with Dark for a month. Is for me especially is that I'm watching. And I get it. This is an indie guy. You're giving him a chance to show what he can do, so maybe somebody out there will sign him someday. I get that. I'm also watching the world champ wrestle a guy that we're hoping gets signed someday somewhere.
Yeah.
For 10 minutes. You know what I mean? So that was, now that, like you said, I watched Dark 2 this week, much better. Much better, And I think we are all to varying degrees rooting for AEW.
Yes.
And you can't help but root in a way that steers it towards your liking. Right? It's just human nature, right? And I'm not okay with people telling me, well, give them time. It's only been a year.
It's been a year.
But my point is, especially people going, well, it took the WWE 20 years to figure out women's wrestling.
It's like, well, that's their problem, first of all.
Well, not only that, but we're not talking about the WWE as far as that, because what we know is that before this company was founded, women's wrestling had changed. Not WWE women's wrestling. Women's wrestling had changed. They would reference, but the knockout division, it took them a long time to figure out how to do that. Okay, yeah, but they had prior to this company being started. So we don't get to start a company and back it up. We go forward from that point.
You don't get to move the goal line 10 years ago.
But to piggyback on that, that's not even fair to say, because AEW has not treated their female wrestlers. They haven't had bra and panties matches. They haven't. So they're not doing that. The thing you're alluding to,
it's not
is
accurate.
not
They're just
accurate.
not on.
Correct.
Television.
They're just not getting television time. Which my problem with that is, and I know I'm bloviating too much, but Penelope Ford had a match with Shida, and when the 3 hit and she lost, she was a star. At that moment in time, to anybody that watches this television show, she is a star.
She was awesome. Where is she?
We haven't even seen her, and she just jobbed out to Brandy and Brandy's partner. Her friend got pinned, but still. Okay? Now, my point with that would be Penelope should be on every other week and not on walking around looking at friends.
Penelope and Kip. I just like Kip. But they do come as a package.
Swole should be on.
Yes.
You don't have to be in a program to go out there and give me a good match. If you want to, Penelope's role right now could be, I'm better than everybody else here. Nobody here can wrestle like me. You know what I mean? And then just go out there and do that for 6 minutes a week.
Okay, just give them, at the very least, more promo time. If you want people to care about these characters, the first thing you have to do is have them be present. Even if you don't want to trim enough to put like a whole 10-minute match in, whatever. Trim like 5 minutes out and give a couple people promos.
Or this concept you have of the $50. What about having have that be 2 things, and one of them be being the elite for the women's division? So if you do want to learn, say, hey, if you got a problem with the women's division, watch them on YouTube. You'll learn about the characters, and then when they are on the show, you'll appreciate it. You'll understand what's going on Dark, and then then allow them to tell those stories in their way. I think we just solved the problem.
Yes, actually, the only thing I would change is also just remove the money. Why would you, if you're trying to create a place that's safe from exclusion and is supposed to be inclusive, why would you gate it behind money? Especially like a $50 one-time payment for a year. That just doesn't make any sense to me.
Right. I get what you're saying.
You're immediately excluding people who, especially in the middle of a pandemic, might not have the extra cash to drop $50 on it.
Right. And I do think that Cody and them just slapped it and think about $5 a month.
Again, if you phrase it as $5 a month,
it's not even though. 12 months in a year.
Yeah.
It's 3-something.
It's 3-something.
Yeah.
And it's like, how, if you're just the branding people, you like, what is happening?
Right. Right. You could have done, a couple of $20 payments in a 10 and been.
Oh, yeah.
And everybody loves it.
Perfect.
Right. But that doesn't solve the issue with
it
the
still
wrestling
has
time.
Structural issues.
Right.
There's.
Right.
It's not an easy fix, but they need to be moving and making progress. At the very least.
And I don't know how because there are also very good tag teams that aren't getting time. You don't see the Lucha Brothers much. You don't see Private Party much. And I do believe that Dark. I do think that those guys are going to be the highlights of Dark.
Oh, dude, absolutely.
For the next little while, but it's tough. You don't have so much time. Like I said, they need another hour very badly. Okay, so New Japan. Did you see anything in New Japan?
There were only a couple house shows in addition to the stuff with the American New Japan Cup.
Mm-hmm.
I think the only thing coming out of the house shows that I really felt was that Suzuki's going to be challenging Shingo for the Never Openweight title. That's
nice.
The only big thing. And Ibushi and Tanahashi continue to fracture because Tanahashi underperforms.
What's going on with the 6-man tag?
The 6-man tag belts? Oh, yes, I did actually watch a couple of those matches. They're having a tournament for the Never Openweight 6-man belts. I don't remember off the top of my head who won, but they're in they just did the first round these past couple days.
I think we're going to go in there and watch some New Japan in a second anyway. We'll be able to really get you into those updates. Now, there was an announcement there, too, though. What was the thing you sent me today?
Oh, they're actually straight up they released all the dates for G1 Climax 30.
Awesome.
No, it's not 30. Is it 30?
I don't know.
I always get the numbers switched around.
But G1 is awesome.
Dude, G1 Climax rules. It's the best time of the year consistently.
For wrestling. Yes.
Dude, their lineup, I don't know how exactly they're going to do it.
One guy put a thing online talking about, all y'all complaining about WWE and AEW. I just watch New Japan and I'm happy.
That's how I feel, man. I mean, I see memes and stuff where it's like WWE and AEW are fighting each other, and it's like New Japan's just chilling in the background, just having a good time.
Being perfect.
Right.
Absolutely. Okay, I'm sorry. We went real long on this, but I feel like all of that needed to be discussed. Maybe it should have been discussed in 2 episodes, but hey, you can hit pause. Thank you so much for listening. I got New Japan Jared here. I got the Go Home Heat Kid Ray here. Excuse me, I'm KP. And this is a Go Home Heat production, copyright 2020. Go home.